is. We're here.
Are we?
That's not for me to say. I know I'm not all here.
Well,
I mean,
are any of us?
I blame my Swiss cheese brain.
Mm.
Now, is the Swiss cheese from perimenopause? Is it neurodivergence? Is it something else? Is it something else from that something else? I don't know. I don't actually know if I'm here until my existence is validated by others, but I will move forward as if we are. Hello.
Hi.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. We are back. Another week, another podcast, another live stream. What is it that I usually say? See, Swiss cheese brain. This is our weekly live stream where we record our podcast, the audio version of which hits all major podcast apps every Friday. We are here 8 minutes early. If you're here for the live stream, don't care for the idle chit chat or just don't find it important, you have time to go do something. If you are here after the live stream, but before I put in timestamps and you don't like the idle chit chat, just fast forward by about 8 minutes.
Are you sure you can manage this today?
I don't know. I don't. After what I did in the podcast intro, which is a separate intro.
Yep.
Look, even if you're not a podcast listener, if you would like to laugh at me, when this episode comes out on Friday, May 2nd? I think that's the date. Just go listen to the first 2 minutes, if that. I flubbed it all the way, and see, professionals would have re-recorded. We ain't got time for that. Okay. We're just two weirdos on the internet with microphones. We ain't got time for all that. But I'm going to say hello to folks.
Say hello.
And thank you to those of you who validated our existence. I appreciate it. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Lady Blooding. Hi, David. Hi, Base Eats. Hi, Kim. We are here not quite super early, but I think a little earlier than we've been the past couple weeks. And so it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything for the butt rub?
No.
No, me neither. I'm enjoying this, but I don't trust it to last. I've been able to focus really well the past couple days, including today, where I'm just checking things off my list. Now, will that continue after this stream? I don't know. But that's because I don't trust any of it to last. And so I've just been enjoying thinking of a thing I need to do and then going to do that thing and focusing on it until I get it done. But it does help that after too many weeks of mentally resisting my own requirement to work off of a to-do list, where my brain literally told me, my brain, I don't have to do what you say. Finally made to-do lists again, and look at me, I'm just checking them off. Sometimes to-do lists are the only way I can survive. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I get the sense of accomplishment when I check it off. And sometimes to-do lists are like a non-consensual power exchange, which is not a power exchange if it's not consensual. But it's like somebody rocking up and telling me I have to do a thing. Is it me rocking up to me? Is it stuff I want to get done? Yes. But sometimes my brain goes, no, you don't get to tell us what to do. Hi, Yarn and Whiskey. Hi, Apocalypse.
Let's see. What did I... Sunday, I took the Can-Am out for a...
You took it out for a big boy ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked, but I think it was too soon for you to process. How did that feel from an anxiety, the last time I was on a big boy road, bad things happened experience?
It was okay, actually.
Okay.
It was okay. Not going to lie, I was hyper aware about everything going on around me.
I mean, it's not always a bad thing.
Right. But it was kind of nice. The roads I was traveling were back roads through the Ocala National Forest.
Oh, that's a beautiful drive.
So it was a nice ride, and I discovered some places that I want to explore a little further.
Okay, cool.
Drag my camera out there with me.
I thought he was going to say drag my baby girl with him, but okay. Nope. Camera. Look, I think you should have things that you go off and do and it's just your thing. Yes, 100%. But also, if there's dragging, look, I put it in a ponytail to make it easier, okay? I'm consenting to you dragging, unless it's in a crowd of people, then I don't consent to that. I taste you. Yeah, on the weekends, I have these urges to go, hey, let me try again, to cling to your back like a rhesus monkey. And I don't allow us to get busy and forget. I allow myself to be like doing so many other things that I just don't.
Distracted.
I just don't mention it. I thought about it. That has to count. It doesn't. It doesn't. I know it doesn't. I'm aware. Hi, Audrey.
Yeah.
Because I want to get comfortable riding on the back again, because that's like one of our ultimate things we want to get to, especially when, the youngest is fully independent and we can just be gone for literal hours, is to travel not too long of distances, but to like get on the bike and fucking go.
Yeah.
But if I can't stop crying when JB goes above 20 miles per hour. So, and this is the thing I discovered long ago about anxiety, and I still have people like roll their eyes at me like this can't possibly be true, but I need some other anxious folks out there to tell me if this resonates, because typically anxiety just makes you think of some of the worst case scenarios, and it's most of the time it's not true. It's not going to happen. It's probably all going to be fine. But when you worry, and if you have a good imagination, you can find a lot to worry about, and you can take your worries to extremes. Abso-fucking-lutely. But once some version of the thing you worried about happens, you're not going to convince my brain that it can't happen again. It happened once. It can happen twice. Now, rationally, yes, we learn from it. We take better precautions. All these things you can do to mitigate because you've learned from the past experience. That's lovely. Tell my anxious brain that. My anxious brain knows that a thing that has always been true, especially if you're riding a motorcycle, that bad things can happen. Getting myself to relax enough to, like you, be very aware, take extra precautions, be cautious. That is like the healthy way, I think. I wouldn't know. I'm an anxious person. Where I'm at right now is the crying, screaming, what's the word I want? Sort of primitive fear. It's the lizard brain going, this could be very bad. This could be very bad. So the comfort that I had finally sort of gained, right, and this is ironic, riding on a 2-wheel motorcycle, where now we have 3 wheels, you're much more stable. I have a bigger seat and armrest. I still contend, no, it's not safe, but I want a seatbelt so that I can lie to myself that I am securely strapped in. You don't want to be securely strapped into a motorcycle. That's not going to do any good if you start flipping, but it would make me feel better. So my whole point is, now that my anxious brain knows that one of my worst case scenarios has happened and can happen, getting the anxious brain to go, it's going to be fine. And whatever happens, you're going to get through. I can do that here now. You start going 26 miles an hour on that Can-Am, my brain forgets all of it, all the rational stuff, gone.
Oh, dear.
We are pure lizard brain at that point.
Out the window at that point, huh?
Yep. Hi, Silent. Hi, David. And it's 1 o'clock.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
There we go. As you can hopefully kind of tell from the title, I'm not good at titles, y'all. I'm really, because it requires you to be succinct. I'm not. If you're new here, I'm not. But we're going to try and talk about, in our part of our real world dynamic series, what happens to experiencing and dealing with power exchange when you also have the additional responsibility of caring for another person, not your partner, because caring for your partner is similar but not, right? So in this case, we are both talking about raising children. And if you ever find yourself in the position, or currently are, of caregiving for an adult, whether that's an elderly adult or just another adult, maybe younger, maybe older, but the kind of the stuff that will absolutely impact your power exchange because of that, and then maybe some things that might help. We shall see. If you enjoy this, we love a thumbs up. If you Like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And once you subscribe, go ahead and ring that notification bell up to get updates and new content.
Just do what Daddy says because he can say it better than I fucking can. I'm going to just go ahead and say it because podcast listeners, audio folks, they'll already know this because they heard the intro. The words are not wording today, both in the not thinking of words and also not saying them in the order that I thought them. They're not, the brain and the mouth are not in sync. So this will be interesting.
I think it's something in the air because if you recall during the Q&A video I couldn't get some things out either.
I know. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Thank God for the edit. See, we might not edit the podcast real hard, but I edit those videos real hard. So, okay. We can get started. Sure, hit the button. Okay, so
how about if I just click it instead of hit it?
I mean, but we're kinky around here, and we're into impact.
No, you can't do that.
You need that. Well, I need it out of my way. I will pull it back out. I just need it out of my way.
I went through all that to get it right and where I need it to be.
I will pull it back out. I don't have a good memory, but I have an eye for that kind of spatial stuff. Give me a second. Is this anything about this episode at all? No. Is it a very good example of real world power exchange? Yes, it is. Okay, so was I supposed to have an announcement of, we're sponsoring us, or here, remember this thing? Sure, did I? No. I can tell you, we just restocked a product on the Kinkery, thekinkery.com. It's the Pounder. Mm-hmm. It's a sleek, simple, beginner-friendly paddle. There you go. Thekinkery.com. Okay.
And there's some beautiful woods that I
know. I'm part of me hopes they go fast because they are so gorgeous, but also I'd like to have them around so I can show them off and be like, look, this is the kind of shit he makes. Right.
Yeah. I especially like the yellow heart. I had some yellow heart, and it's absolutely beautiful because the wood is yellow, but then there's traces through the woods. I call them almost feathers. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Naturally occurring in the wood.
I tried to edit the pictures to do them justice. Mm-hmm. I tried. So there you go. That's our announcement.
Okay.
So this week's episode, several people, because I've made offhand comments about parenting. We've talked about the whole real world dynamics. It's parenting will fuck that up. And a lot of people have commented who are parents who are like, oh my gosh, can we talk about this? Well, I couldn't and wouldn't make this whole episode just about parenting because we've actually talked about it several times. So that is linked in the places for specific to parenting conversation. We are going to talk about parenting, but for those folks who are done raising children and or have no intention of ever raising children, that does not mean you won't face something similar if you ever have an adult in your life that needs extra care, that can't live independently, or even if they're living independently, they just need help. We've experienced that twice now. Mm-hmm. And just, nothing prepares you for that, not really. But the awareness that, if you find yourself in this situation 5 years from now, maybe your leaky brain, like I have, Swiss cheese brain, will remember, wait, Kayla and JB talked about this. All this shit I'm going through, it's normal. It sucks, but it's normal. So that's we're combining it all. Two things I want to say. Mm-hmm. One, we're not talking specifically about partners. There are absolutely power exchange relationships where one or both more partners needs specific caregiving. We're not talking about that because that to me is a little bit separate from this topic. The other thing, when we do talk about parenting, we are talking about the stereotypical experience that most but not all parents will have of their children grow up and as they age, they become more mature, more independent, need you less or in different ways, depending on how you look at life. Ideally with the thing of they will have their own home and their own life and you'll fully independent, right? That is not true for all parents. I do not want it to make it sound like we think that. I can't speak to that experience at all. I hope some of this might resonate, but that is a challenge that this episode is not equipped to offer probably anything helpful. That is a different life experience. I don't have that life experience. I am not gonna try to condescend to parents who are living that life to tell them what I think they can do for their power exchange. If you are a parent in that life, maybe some of this will be helpful. God, I hope so. But just know, we know your experience is way different than the parenting we will talk about. We are not going to spend the whole episode on parenting, but we're going to touch on it. For anybody who absolutely hates the thought of parenting, I'm so sorry. That's why I try to add in adult caregiving. Just know our stance is there's no requirement to be a parent. If you don't want to have children, don't. For anybody who is struggling, I am so sorry. I can understand why you might skip this one. That's understandable too. Yeah. Okay. So, the other thing we always say when we do talk about parenting, we don't think we are experts on parenting. Your mileage will always vary. Mm-hmm. We tend to talk, as we do on all things, about our own specific experiences. We know that doesn't work for everybody. Okay. And then, of course, talking about adult caregiving. So let's set the whatever here, because I have all kinds of notes. I'm very proud of me. I am taking this series as seriously as I am capable of taking anything. So I think that's a lot. I have the ability. With adult caregiving, there is an adult living in your home, elderly, whether they are just older and just can't live by themselves anymore, or and the thing that terrifies me and terrifies my own mother, they have dementia, Alzheimer's. They are slowly not being the parent you remember, right? That kind of situation. And then there's also adult caregiving, which you have direct experience in, of they live at home, but they need care, and that is for however long they need that care, with the end result usually being they are no longer on this earthly plane. That kind of disruption to life. It's temporary. It doesn't live with you necessarily, but it's a thing you have to contend with. So that's where most of our experience with adult caregiving comes from. Okay. So there's lots of different situations, and some of us will experience all of them, and some of us will experience one or two. I think even though there's differences between caregiving for an adult and caregiving for a child, there are very clear differences. There's a lot of crossover. So hopefully this will resonate regardless of where you are on the spectrum. Okay, so I want to talk about how this caregiving for others, not your partner, affects power exchange life, but power exchange. So I made a list.
And you're checking it twice?
And we're going to go through it.
Okay.
And hopefully as we go through this, we can offer up some things to consider, some things to try.
Okay.
Just some solidarity.
All right.
You turning on the fan?
Before we do that, I'm turning on the noisemaker.
Oh, good, because I've already gotten myself all hot and bothered and worked up. So, okay, so let's start with, these are in no particular order because they're all important at any given point. The no time for your power exchange, your fuckery.
Oh. Oh. Time is not always on your side.
It really is not. So the parenting thing that I often try to remind, especially newer parents, of, is that in general, these children will grow up. They will become more independent. I am not going to lie to you and tell you that parenting gets easier. It stays hard. It's just different hard is all it is. So in a typical parenting situation, the no time thing does ease up. So if you're dealing with a screaming, crying, not sleeping through the night, small human, just know there will be a time when you literally could not wake them up with a brass band playing in their bedroom.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you'll be like, ooh, that means they can't hear shit when I'm in my room doing my thing. So that is a thing that can shift and change over time.
And you know, when we first got together, the boys were young enough. They were in that peak time for them where they slept like rocks.
Yeah, nothing woke them up.
Nothing woke them up. They slept through the night, and they didn't hear. Once their eyes were closed and they were off in dreamland, they didn't hear anything. And then there came a point where the oldest was not quite the grade schooler, not quite high school, something that in between, you know, and he was around a lot more. And then high school hit.
It's a whole different animal.
And that was a whole different animal too, because at that time, he was involved with a lot of things. He was involved with school and he was a very busy person, was not home very much.
It was great when he could start driving, because
Yes.
then we didn't have to be the chauffeur anymore.
Correct.
How many times did we sit in the parking circle at the high school in our pajamas waiting for a
Yeah.
child at 10 o'clock at night?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was so grateful when he
a
could
football
drive.
game, yeah.
Right. So the no time thing for parenting shifts and changes. We have, our youngest is 15, ninth grader, high school. However, our youngest has mental and physical health stuff and is homeschooled. And so his brother had hit a certain age, you know, wanted all the independence we would grant him.
And then some.
And then some. More than we would grant him.
Yeah.
And then the youngest is, actually, I would do anything I could to never leave this house.
Right. Yeah.
And so I feel like from a parenting perspective, we're seeing both ends of some kind of spectrum of they're never home, which the nice thing is when they're not home, they're off doing their own thing. You get that, ideally you get that time to yourself. It's an hour, it's a couple hours. Hopefully there's no other children who are like meeting you, right? You might be able to claw back some time. In this case, we have a kid who's always around, and this will come into the privacy issue. So we are not needed, but we are very aware there is a child in this house while we are trying to be kinky fuckers.
And you know, I think I mentioned this to you, you know, with him being home in a sense, it's almost like being a caregiver 24/7.
When the health issues were at their peak, it absolutely was.
Yes.
It absolutely was. Like, we were not at a point at that stage where we were even focused on our power exchange, and nobody had time or energy for fuckery. So it just kind of pushed all that down even more. He's much more stable, mostly. We've figured out a groove and a routine. We also, we bought the house we live in for very specific reasons. One is the office in which we stream and record. But two is because the kids' bedrooms were on one side and we were on the other. When we were viewing this house, one of the things we did, and I need you to remember, sound carries in an empty room.
Right.
One of us stood in what would be one of the kids' bedrooms, closed the door. The other one went to what would be our bedroom, closed the door.
And then we started making noise.
Loud noise.
Yeah.
When we realized, oh shit, I can't hear him, he can't hear me, we were like,
no.
All things being equal, this is the fucking house. Because we had just had the experience of the children being across the hall from us and thin walls. Again, we will get to the privacy issue, but it tends to be the privacy issue and the time issue feel like they go hand in hand. Yeah. Now, the time thing, part of it as a parent is as they need you less, and you can trust that they will not swallow a rock if you leave them alone or stick their finger in a socket or whatever, you can pull back some of that time and go to a private area and get 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. As they get older, ideally you get more and more time. Now let's talk about the adult caregiving, because we had the experience of you having to travel.
Yes.
The first time was your sister.
Right.
She was a few miles up the road. It was travel time because of traffic.
Yeah.
But it was not.
But it was in the same area, same general area.
Exactly. The second time was your mom, and that was a 2-hour drive one way.
Correct.
And you were the one who needed to be there as the responsible adult.
Yeah.
Right.
So the way that had, or at least it was meant to work, I would be gone during the week, and then someone would take over for me on the weekend, and I come home, see my baby girl, and catch up with what work came in during that week. And, there again, too, it's nice when things work out the way they're supposed to, but don't always count on it. Numerous times I came home for the weekend, and within a few hours I would get a phone call.
Right.
I can't handle this. What am I doing? I need you. And I had to turn around and go back.
And that was not the adult needing care. It was the adult who was supposed to be providing care.
Yeah. Yeah. So that put a big strain on our DS at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even more so than my sister, because at least that with her, at the end of the day, I was home.
Right. Right. You were sleeping in your own bed most nights.
The end of every day, I was home with you.
Right. And we got to a point where you and I actually were able to tag team, because that was when you still worked your big boy office job.
Right.
And so you had a limited amount of time you could take off that you would get paid for.
Yeah.
And there came a point I was like, I will drive you to medical appointments. I will take you to stores if you need it. JB doesn't have the time financially at work to be able to do all of this. I don't think I have to tell anybody who's caring for any human that if you can have help and access to help and resources, it does go easier than if you were doing it on your fucking own. I think we all know that, but it is one of those things where whether it's raising a child until you push them out of the fucking nest, and if they come home, at least they're adults, or it's an adult who needs long-term care. What was I going to say? Goddamn. It will take up a lot of time, but it tends to be a season in life. It is not usually a forever thing. And I think what we found, both with parenting and taking care of your sister and then your mom, is you get into routines. Even if you're not trying to, even if you're a person who hates routines, most of the time you kind of fall naturally into one. This is the pattern of what happens. And so like when you were taking care of your mom and you were gone all week, and then you'd be home usually Friday evening or Saturday or whatever, that was a time when fuckery and power exchange was kind of the furthest thing from our minds.
Yep.
I cannot speak for anybody else, and I'm not speaking for you, JB, but I will say there is some hope is maybe too strong of a word, but there is some calm that I can feel when I can look at a situation and I go, no matter how this ends, whether it's triumphantly or painfully, this is not forever.
Correct.
It's not going to be great when it ends. We're going to have to go through that too. But this situation that is sucking up time and money and resources and is mentally, emotionally difficult does not last forever. If we can get through this, we can figure out what our new normal looks like and get back to some semblance of whatever we're trying to do. But yeah, with your sister, you actually had more help. Not as much as you should have.
Well.
And then the end was a shit show. With your mom, you had less help.
Yes.
And less reliable help.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as the person who was not directly impacted and had... I missed my daddy, but I stayed home with the kids, and that part of my life got to stay normal. As a submissive, I was like, I am taking care of things here, both because that's what you do, but I framed it in my little subby section of my mind as a service. Anything to make when you got home, your life a little bit easier. For me, that was how I could kind of hold on to some of the power exchange part. I just had to reframe it. It was still a bad thing that was going to end in grief and pain, because it was. But in the middle of it, the surviving of it, we had no time to see one another. We were separated for days at a time, all of that. I was like, yeah, but if I can kind of keep everything calm here and be one less thing for JB to worry about, then I'm doing this. I'm serving. With your sister, that was more of just a teamwork kind of thing.
Right.
What can I do to take the burden off of you? How can I make this a little easier for you? And sometimes both, there's two of you in the relationship, and child or adult, you're both going through it, and it's hard for both of you. But the trying to help each other, even if it's not quite noticed in the moment or it's not explicitly asked for, just trying to be a support for one and then the other and switch off. I think it makes a difference. I do. Yeah. But the time factor, that is why we talk about, I think in last week's episode, small connections. Small, seemingly ordinary things that don't mean anything except to the two of you. Our bedtime ritual. The only time we don't do it is if he's not in this building.
Right.
And even then we'll do it verbally over the phone.
Correct.
It's not quite the same, but it has meaning, right? Routines.
Yeah.
Having habits that this is what I do as a dom, this is what I do as a sub. That you can do, right? Like sometimes everything's so disruptive, you don't have the time to do it. You have to like put it to the side. But I know what my routine looks like on a typical day, whether I've got 2 children hanging on a leg, which thankfully the oldest was too old for that by the time we started our power exchange. Right. Or I've got teenagers who are telling me that I make them do everything, and all I want to make them do is take a shower. You know, like those routines. You know, for me, that's what lets me feel my submissive self when I don't have any external validation or experience. And JB's got to go off and do his thing, and I'm still here trying to keep everything going. I can still connect and tap into that, even if we're not directly doing it together.
I mean, one of the big things for me, especially since I had to stay down there for, days at a time, was when we connected through FaceTime. You know, and doing that, us connecting and talking every evening that way, it helped me carry the emotional load.
And I think that when the caregiving you're providing is very stressful and there's grief attached to it, I think whatever one or both of you can do for each other, even if when you're both truly going through it at the same time, right? Maybe the adult is somebody you're both super close to. Maybe you each have an adult that you're caregiving for and you're both going through it. Those small points of connection and the things that you can find to do for each other. And look, that is not a kink thing. That's not a power exchange thing. That is a human thing, a relationship thing. Doesn't matter the flavor. But if you can then do it with a kinky twist, I think it can be those small moments that don't take a lot of time, that are happening while you're doing other things, that are part of a routine that you are able to maintain. And that means you might have to strip down and simplify the power exchange and kink life. It might have to go to bare minimum for you to, to feel like you can be a little connected to the power exchange, but also get through your day.
Right. I mean, those little things were so important. All right. Between all the stress and everything else that was going on at the time, you don't have a lot of freedom to just, move about, so to speak, and, do the things the way you normally do them. So when, those little things, man, in those instances, you look for it and you hold on to it.
And you have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
And there will be times you can't be intentional. It's a bad day. It was a bad night. It's a whatever. You don't have the luxury of time to even really think about it. But when you get those quiet moments where you can think about it, and the thing is the quiet moments for people who like I'm a person who I need some quiet time to really like deep dive into my own brain to figure out what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. Some of those situations don't allow for lots and lots of time. So I, had to get good at allowing myself 5 minutes. Look, it might be when I finally got to sit down and go to the bathroom and pee. And it was the 2 minutes I had in there on my own as a parent or anything else to try. But I also think you have to be careful not to put too much pressure on yourself and your partner in the relationship. These, raising little humans to be not shitty big humans and caring for adults who maybe have cared for you when you were little, or you're seeing them in a vulnerable way that you would never normally have seen them, that takes a shit ton of time, and it carries a huge emotional strain. And if you are also on top of it worried about somehow maintaining some very in-depth, time-consuming kink life, you are going to burn yourself out from both fucking ends, because something will have to give, you know. Is there that some exceptional person who's like, no, I can compartmentalize, and I can give this much attention to this and that much attention to that, and I can keep it balanced? You, my friend, are the exception. You are not the rule. The rule is most of us have a limited capacity.
Right.
And parenting, caregiving, there are stages and times in life where that is your biggest focus. And that means that your power exchange, no matter how much you care about it and how much meaning you derive from it and how much you feel connected to your truest self, it takes a back seat, and that is normal. Yeah. And the things I've seen people put themselves through to try to maintain what they had at a time in life when they don't have the same amount of time for it, you're making your life harder than it needs to be.
Yeah. Now, you know, I will say this, what helped me too through that time was the fact that you were taking care of everything. When I came home, the house was cared for. The house was taken care of. You had done grocery shopping, you did whatever, laundry needed to be done. You took care of all that. And for me, that was a big thing. And also too, because we still had a business to run.
And to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
We did.
So when I came home, what I was very grateful for too, you had things laid out for me for the work that I had to do for the weekend, and you had it laid out for me so I could just, pop right through. So that went a long way.
Here's the thing that this ties into. So in some situations, one of you is off having to do the caregiving and the other one of you is left behind or not as involved. And so you're looking at every other part of your life, right? That's got to be maintained. This is an example of sharing the mental load. I could take on the domestic and professional mental load because JB's mental load was unending stress and grief, right? In parenting, this is one of many reasons the first marriage did not work. There's so many reasons, but this is one of them. There was no sharing of the mental load. It was all on me to remember everything, to take care of everything. Now, we do have an episode about mental load in Power Exchange, but the more you can share in a relationship where you're trying to be fucking kinky and power exchangey, but also this thing is happening in your life, the more you can share the mental load. None of it's easy, but the air quote this, the easier it is, because then you're not alone, right? Like in my mind, JB was doing the hardest part. He was making these drives, and then he was going into sometimes idiotically stupid stressful moments that didn't even need to be stressful. And there was not a fucking thing I could do to help. But what I could do is make sure his life was a little easier at home, right? In parenting, there were a lot of times I'm what's called the default parent. My children to this day are coming to me first. Like, one's a fucking adult. I'm getting the first text, the first phone call. And I don't mind. I'm glad I have that relationship with them. But what that meant was when they were younger, everything was mom, 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 mom. And so if I... by the way, some of y'all have heard it before. My my ringer for my children is Stewie saying, "Mom, mom, mommy, mommy," because that's Mama. Familiar. Mama. So JB was always very good at going, "Oh, this is a high touch parenting moment. BG don't have time for nothing. I can go clean this thing. I can take care of this thing. I can offer to help with the parenting thing," So that mental load was shared, because when you already don't have time to connect in your power exchange, and also you're carrying the mental load of caring for this or keeping something going or whatever, if it's not, the burden is not shared, you have less time. And also you are, one of the things we're about to get to, it's actually the next thing. Let's segue into it. Stress. The stress of it all. The stress of it all. Yeah. Shared mental load reduces that a little bit, that, but sometimes it's just going to be stressful till it's not.
Right.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Pretty much.
I mean, you know, the times in parenting that were stressful, that were, sometimes I had to be reminded, sometimes I already knew, that were developmentally appropriate. This is what they're kind of supposed to do at this age, and you got to respond the way that you feel, you got to respond, blah, blah, blah. That is a stress, but then there is the stress. I'll speak from a parenting perspective, because you felt it, but you also felt the adult caregiving stress on a different level.
Yeah.
When the youngest was mentally, physically the sickest he's ever been, I actually had conversations with his therapist where I kind of said, and then she validated, I was traumatized by that. Now, he was traumatized by that. I'm not going to take that away. But the level of stress for that is a different level of stress where sometimes the answer would be, God, can I just feel my baby girl self? Can I feel very submissive and taken care of? And sometimes that was not the answer. That was not what we needed. Power exchange did not provide the relief sometimes because the stress was just too big. The fear was just too great. The feeling out of control and like you don't know what's going to happen and you don't control any of it and you just got to fucking roll with it. While also being a very anxious human being. Like there were times JB could not daddy me out.
No.
Now, from the stress perspective, adult caregiving, what was that like with Power Exchange? What was like, how does that all from your perspective?
You know, I wish I could say it's cut and dry and it's, you know, this is going to happen, that's what it's going to be like. And it's not. Because, you know, caregiving for my sister, caregiving for my mom, two very different, very, very different experiences. Polar opposites almost, really, if you think about it. What did that do for the stress level?
From my side, what I wanted to do was to make sure that you didn't, it goes back to the mental load. I wanted to make other parts of your life as stress-free as possible so that you could function in the stress. The first time you ever said to me, I cannot be the decision maker right now. I cannot dom right now. Do not ask me anything. It was in the middle of taking care of your sister. It had been a bad day. There was a lot of family angst. That was unnecessary, but it was there.
It was there.
And I asked what you wanted to drink with your dinner, and you went, nope.
I could not even decide on what I wanted to drink at that point.
No. And we got better over time in stressful situations in general, not specific to this. Have we done the episode on stress? I'm sure we have. Silent will tell me in the live chat. We've gotten better at having kind of a code where, and sometimes just outright saying it, but we're better at saying, this is too much for me to also be in this role. This is too much for me to also be a decision maker. This is too much for me to get up and serve. Like I need to be alone. I need to not be touched. I need to sit in a dark room. I need something, but to continue doing the things that are part of my submissive role, I don't have it in me. It is not easy to admit that from either side of the slash, y'all. It's a vulnerability thing. I know from my perspective, and I think probably yours, if I have read it correctly, it feels like you're letting the other one down, right? Like I said, I was going to be this person to you. This is our relationship. And I'm over here telling you that I'm at my capacity. The stress is too great. There's too much. It's too much today or in general, you know? Yeah. There were times with your sister and your mom where some days were easier than others.
Right.
And so the stress is always there. You know, if you're caregiving for an adult who is ill, the stress is always there. But the day, you know, once you got used to the spikes, it made the days where there's no stress spike feel easier.
Yeah.
I could ask you to make a decision. That is also, I think, where we got really good at, because you trusted me, I could pick your options. And so then you weren't making a decision from out of nothing.
From scratch.
I was just bringing you, hey, all of these options will work.
which one do you want?
Which one do you want? And when you could make decisions that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us to maybe have it be relatable to anybody else out there, we looked at, you know, we got better at communicating. We had to get real good with being real vulnerable. There, you know, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but to me, the vulnerability of telling you that I can't do the thing I said I would do, I can't be who I said I would be, temporarily or for a long time, versus the vulnerability is harder to me than the vulnerability of going, hey, can you hit me with that thing until I cry and pretend you don't like me? Like, it's all vulnerability. Got that episode too. But that, because it feels like you're letting the other person down when you have to be that vulnerable and go, I can't do this the way that we've been doing this. But I think that's the most fucking honest conversation you can have, because it allows you, like, as a parent. Now I'm very grateful I did not have to try to be power exchange with infants. With the youngest was as close to colicky, they wouldn't diagnose, but I was colic. My first marriage did not even survive being a parent to 2. Like, I don't know what power exchange would have happened. But it means the no child power exchange and the child having a child power exchange are completely different animals. And you gotta, you know, have realistic expectations that, hey, the thing we thought would work, because, aren't babies easy? Not for most of us. You know, we can't do. There's too much. It's too much. You know, but you got to be willing to have those conversations.
True.
And I think, to me, the real letdown of your partner is not in not being able to do what you said you would do within your role in your power exchange. It's not having the conversation.
Yeah.
Because 2 things are happening there. You are drowning, and they are having expectations of you that you can't meet.
Hold up to.
Right. And so now there's the, what the hell's going on with our relationship? You said you would do a thing, and now you just added stress on top of stress. You know? The reason, there's so many reasons we say kink is customizable.
Yeah.
So many. I'm sure I heard that somewhere and picked it up and just fucking loved it, and now I'm saying it all the time. Is because it's also customizable at every stage of your life. If you try to hold on to the power exchange you had when you were not caring for an elderly family member, when you were not raising an infant, if you try to hold on to that this moment, this caregiving moment, power exchange, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because it's got to shift and change. Even if that shift and change isn't that much, there's going to be a shift and change. So you get to customize your power exchange through every stage of your life. Yeah. And you kind of have to.
And you have to. You have to. Because you don't, you know, we've talked about this so many times. You know, DS or anything in life is not one and done. You don't say, okay, this is how we're going to live our life, and then, you know, la-di-da-di-da,
we never think about it again.
Yeah, never think about it again. You know, no, it changes, and you have to change and flow with it. You cannot remain rigid and say, this is it. No, you cannot do that.
I'm not saying shift will be easy. For some people, that's really hard.
Right.
Okay, to just change, to have to change a routine or to change a way of thinking. For others, it's easier. Great. The thing is when you are at a high stress point in life, small children, teenage children who were driving, that was a stress I was not prepared for. Family members, right? Whatever. If you cannot shift your power exchange to be what you need in the moment, you have just it's stress compounding on top of stress. You're just layering it. Well, why are you going to do that to yourself?
You know, I'm going to try and relate this, and maybe you can help me along the way if I get, start stumbling. One of the best things I ever heard was a thing we were talking about. You know how people would say, I'm giving 100% in a relationship, and you got to give 100% and all that. And that is so not true. Okay? Because on any given day, hell, maybe today I'm running at 100%. Tomorrow, I may only be at 75.
Right.
And we, in any relationship, you need to be able to work back and forth with each other. You know, when one is feeling down, you help, you throw in that extra percent to help that one. When you know, and it's back and forth.
I agree completely. The analogy I like is not that you give 100, I give 100, is that together we give 100.
Yes.
I like that one a lot because what it means is if you're having a real rough day and all you got's 20, if you can talk about it with your partner, they might not have the full 80, but maybe they're in a better place and they can give 60 where they were only given 50 before, right? The other thing I like, and I think it gets forgotten, it's because even the 100% and the 50-50 can be ableist. So the thing I like that I heard from a lot of creators over the years is that if the best you have is 20%, that's all you gave, everything you had. Guess what? You gave 100%.
Yeah.
You did the best you could. Now, for those of us who think like my brain does, and I keep being told it's a neurodivergent thing, so you can tell me, us literal thinkers, your best is apparently not the best you were ever capable of doing ever. Giving your best is what you have to give without burning yourself out in a given moment. I didn't know that. I was raised, you give 110%. And I was like, I am living on fumes, but I will dig deep and find what I think is 110%. No. Also, though, in that giving and that, whether it's 100 and 100, 50, however you want to label it, sometimes, let's be real, especially caregiving, especially caring for other human beings who have their own feelings and needs and, right? Some days you don't have anything to fucking give, and guess what? Neither does your partner. and now this segues into exhaustion.
Yeah.
That's the third one on the list. We did no time, stress, now we're at exhaustion. I don't have like, here's 3 easy tricks, right? Like, What I have found is if we can keep our sense of humor from the stress to the exhaustion and admit to one another, oh my God, I don't have anything in the tank. And JB goes, fuck me neither. And so then we're openly talking about how we are lumps on this couch right now. And yes, there's all these things around our home that need to be done. Yes, there's our whole power exchange routine that we barely have energy for, Yes. We made sure the small humans survived the day and went to bed. Check that off the fucking list. That's what we got done. Right. We don't have anything left in us. You know what? We did a damn good job. We kept the small humans alive today. Is the house filthy? Sure. Is there work still to be left? Sure. But we are open and talk about it and go, God, I'm fucking tired. And then it's not this dirty little secret. Right.
And also what comes of that, because we fell into that trap too, at least I know I did. You don't tell your partner that you're exhausted or, and you like, I got to do what I got to do kind of thing, and you try to push through. It's not a good thing. It can build resentment. It can make the exhaustion feel worse.
It makes everything feel worse.
Makes everything feel worse. And then comes the point where, then start getting snippy with one another.
Ooh, yeah.
And just by that little bit of thing saying, excuse me, folks.
Somebody had a bubble.
Yeah. Just by sitting there and saying, I just don't have it today. I don't have it in me. That kiboshes so much.
And it keeps the lines of communication open.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to be real with you. There are days I got the energy and JB doesn't. And JB's tired and he goes, I don't have it in me. Do I feel disappointed? Am I, my baby girl are they a little sad? Sure. That is a human natural response. It's fine. What I don't do is take my bad feelings out on him. He clearly communicated where he was at. I can say, if it feels appropriate at the time, maybe I save it for later. Aw, that kind of sucks. That makes me sad. Not in the way to pressure him and guilt him, but just to kind of like have the conversation. And then, you know what? the earth keeps fucking spinning and we keep moving on, because that might be today, tomorrow might be different, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you know, like in a parenting situation, maybe you can see a point in the future where somebody, not you, is caring for these fucking children, and you, whether it's in your own house or somewhere else, get to pretend you're child free for like half a second, and you know that you got that coming. Well, I can be disappointed now, but I know I got this thing coming. Or, you know, we've created enough of a routine where when we are not both exhausted, or either one of us is not exhausted, we'll have this thing that we'll do behind closed doors. Exhaustion and stress goes back to that small points of connection. Yeah. Those become very, very, very important. Let me say again, because I say it all the fucking time, our bedtime routine is it. Now, am I making coffee for this man every fucking day because that's part of my service? Sure. Am I making sure he's got his probiotic? That's part of my service. Yep. Yeah. Do I make the bed? Do I unmake the bed? Yeah. I got my service stuff like doled out. Do I always speak to him with respect, because that's the one constant rule? Absolutely. Do I still bring him decisions to make? Yeah. But on days where he's like, I don't want a coffee, or I can't make decisions today, or whatever, that bedtime routine, there has been one, maybe 2 nights where we were both physically in the room and did not really do it, and it was some of our biggest fucking fights.
Yeah.
We don't fight often. We don't. Stress and exhaustion, that's when the biggest arguments come through. And thankfully, we work through them. You know, we make our apologies to one another. We talk about what actually happened. We, you know, try to figure out how we can do better next time. But yeah, in general, that one time of day, and like our one time of day, I'm not saying have a bedtime routine. Our one time of day that's guaranteed, because we go to bed at the same time, bedtime. Yep. Your one time a day might be the 5 minutes before that first child starts crying and needs your attention. It might be while your adult that you're caregiving for is taking a nap, or is, you know, with another adult that you can trust, and you don't even have to think about them for your one point in the day. You've got to find it. You might have to get creative, but find that point where you can connect your power exchange.
That's just like, you know, with our youngest, even though, you know, he's home all the time, you know, when we go to bed, he, at that point, you know, we're old. We go to bed fairly early, not that late. And he's entrenched in his video games.
He don't hear shit from
You know, he's got his headphones on. He's
doors
chatting.
Closed.
Doors closed. He's chatting with his friends while they're doing their, you know, quests and different things. And, yeah, he don't hear shit.
And we have learned to take advantage of that.
Right.
Did it take us a hot minute to get to that point? Of course it did.
But it was like, when it hit, it was like, poof, light bulb.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Little to no privacy. Now, this is different for everybody. We have had, as parents, we've been fortunate as adult caregivers. Our adults never lived in our home. No. So that is not a thing that we have faced. But we've had children all this time. So the first place we lived, they were technically kind of on the opposite end of like a hallway from us. But the walls were thin, but they were young, and that was in an age where they could go, "What was that sound, Mommy?" And I could be like, "Oh, we were just clapping because we were so happy." And I could distract them, and they move on. Right. I also, as quickly as I could, and it was difficult, I split from their dad, divorced their dad. It was just us. He was never around again. Thank you very much. That's how that went. So I never got those weekends off as a single mom. No, that did not happen. So in the beginning of the split, they would creep into my bed more often than after we'd been just the three of us long enough. I kind of was able to get them to slowly stop sleeping in my bed, because I'm the type of parent that I'll have a kid in my bed if they've got a nightmare, they don't feel good, something. But in general, I'm a parent that wants my child to have their own bed, and they did well with that. That was never an issue. Yeah. You will have a different setup and you will find your own way. But what that meant was when I moved in with JB, we very rarely had to worry that a small child would be creeping in in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. They just kind of didn't do that. I think it helped that the boys shared a room. There's a 4-year age gap, but for a lot of years they shared a room. So if one of them woke up, they usually just went and poked their brother.
Yeah.
And now these children would twist themselves into knots to do anything to not have to come talk to me in the middle of the night about any fucking thing. I'm not mad about it, y'all. I'm not mad about it. I think as long as it's not an emergency, let's have a conversation when I'm caffeinated and I have clothes on. That's a good time. Not at 3 a.m. Now, they do know if they need something, I'm there.
Yeah.
But, you know, so that was a way that we did get our privacy. So we had the town home where the walls were thin, but the kids are hard sleepers.
Yeah.
And they didn't wander into my room for any reason. Then we had the condo where the bedrooms were a little bit closer, but the walls are nice and insulated and thick. The sound did not quite carry. And they were still good sleepers, so we were good.
Right.
Then we rented the house where they were right across, like, here's our door. There's the width of the hallway, and then there's their door. And the walls were super thin.
Yeah,
there was no privacy at that point.
The walls were thin, and I don't think there was any insulation in those walls at all.
God. No, the house had been purchased from somebody who I think tried to flip it.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't, so they rented it. And it looked pretty if you didn't look too close, if you didn't squint your eye. You know, if you were just like, I didn't see that crack over there. One of those kinds of homes, which is why we did that very, very complex noise testing when we came to buy this house. So the year, that we spent in the house where they could hear everything and they were way too fucking close, we were miserable for that year because we did not get true fuckery.
No.
At all. Like, if we were doing anything, it was real subtle stuff, and it was like when we were in the car, just the two of us. We tried to, when the kids were both at school, that would be like the time. But the nighttime stuff, the first thing in the morning stuff.
Yeah, no.
Nope. Because, the problem with middle of the day, that sounds like the easy thing. Hey, you've got an hour, you've got 6 hours, they're gone. Yeah, but we both got to work, and we got to earn a living, and we got to, like, be adults. So we were really bad at finding small moments of time, like we're begging y'all to do. Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if you're lucky enough to get an hour, take the fucking hour. You know, and I get not everybody feels this way, I know, but I know how I am. I always say it's my baby girl side. If I can't have the whole hour, the 3-hour scene, the big huge production, and that's what I'm focused on and thinking about, and I'm thinking about how I'm not getting it, it makes the little 5 or 10 minute moment pale in comparison. And there have been times in my life where I was like, well, if I can't get the whole thing, I don't even want the little taste of it. I was spiting my fucking self. I understand the urge. I politely, respectfully beg you to not let yourself go down that as much as possible. Take the 10 minutes you can get. Yeah. No, it's not enough, but it's better than nothing. We have gone literal years with nothing, and that sucked. If we were not so good at communicating and best fucking friends, and our power exchange wasn't so subtly, like, just intricately worked through fucking everything, I don't know what would have happened to us with the amount of time we went with almost nothing physical, because we kept waiting for a 3-hour spot to open up, right? For what, from 2020 COVID times to 2024, what we had consistently was a small point of connection. It was 10 minutes. Which, the times that we argued so badly that we refused to do our bedtime routine, that hurt my feelings so bad. That made those devastating. Like, that really would point out just how bad this argument was.
It wasn't even right for me.
No. Nobody slept well that night.
No.
Here's one. And this is a thing you cannot get away from, get around, because it's going to happen at times. Putting the needs of your children or the adults you're taking care of above your own. Sometimes there's kind of no fucking choice, you know. Somebody's sick. Somebody needs extra care. Somebody, you know, needs extra time. I have to this day have absolutely stopped what is going on in whatever I'm doing, minus going to the bathroom. I will always go pee first. I've learned on that. To talk to a despondent 19-year-old on the phone who thinks everybody hates him, and what he really needed was a meal and a nap. But like he calls, and I know when I get that call that he's calling because something's on his mind. What are you doing, Mom? Nothing. What you need, babe? The youngest just yesterday was going through it, and I have learned with the help of his therapist what some of this stuff means, and to be paying attention,
cognizant of it,
right? Be focused on it. Everything stopped, right? Everything stopped because let's what can I do? How can I ease this for you? Can I fix it? Oftentimes not. When they're sick, when they're this, when they're yes. Anybody with an infant knows. Yeah, you haven't slept, showered, or eaten a full meal because that baby is not going to sleep and is screaming its head off, right? There is a line that you have to find for yourself of when it's time somebody needs to help you so that you can take care of your own needs. Sometimes it's safer than you realize to let them wait so you have that time for yourself. That is a unique situation for every person and every situation that you are in. Like the things I could leave the kids alone to like sort that out. I'll be back in 30 minutes. You're fine. You just don't know you're fine. Is different, those things at that moment in time, yes. And then another thing in life, no, that was not an option. But it is very easy. Typically, if you are the default caregiver, the parent or the one taking care of an adult, to try not to, or to feel guilty when you do think about your own needs. And sometimes you don't have a choice, and sometimes you just don't know that you can ask for help. You're not confident that you can ask for help. You're rejecting help because you've now got it in your head that nobody's going to do it the way I can do it, and so I can't let anybody else do it. I can't tell you if that's the right decision. I don't know your life. I don't know what you're going through, but more times than not, you really can't accept the help. It's just fear. That will affect everything in your life. You already know this. It will absolutely impact your power exchange. Absolutely. JB was doing the thing that terrifies me and driving on almost no sleep, 2 hours one way to go take care of his mom, then getting there and not sleeping because it was a stressful situation. There was no good bed to sleep in. His mom needed him at all hours, right? And then he was with no sleep driving back. He was his mom's needs, his sister's needs, all came before his own, and that's how he functioned through it. What that meant was when he got home to me, it's like, we're going to take care of you because you've got to have that, right? Like whatever it is you need, let's do that. That is normal, but if you're not openly communicating with your partner about it, you're not being honest with each other.
Oh, it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to fuck everything up, y'all. And I think we know this. I think we somehow, y'all, I don't know if you think this, but I'm sure I've had this thought that power exchange is somehow so different to any other relationship that it can both withstand things that most other relationships can't. That's not true.
Not true.
But also is it weirdly too fragile to let real world stuff interfere with it. Neither is true. How do we hold both thoughts in our head at the same time? I don't know. I'm weird like that. Maybe you don't. But all of it is you gotta say the thing. I have not slept in 3 days. I have not bathed in 5. I want to spend time with you, dear submissive, but I'm taking a shower and a nap first, right?
Right.
The one I tend to have to do to JB is, I love you. I want to get naked with you and roll around in the bed, but if one more person talks to me, touches me, or needs me, I'm gonna lose my shit. So I am always your submissive, but right now, your submissive is taking a 5-minute break. I'm gonna go sit in a dark room by my fucking self. And yeah, I had to learn that I had those needs. I did not understand why I gravitated to my typically bedroom, lights out, fan on high, right underneath the AC vent, every time I got really stressed out or like really overwhelmed. It's because it was too much. I was overstimulated, and being in a still, quiet room, completely the fuck alone. It's very calming for me. Once I realize that, I now make, like, I need that. I need 5 minutes of that so I can do 3 more hours of the stressful thing, right?
When I see you go in the room and close the door behind you, I know.
And the thing is, I take advantage of that now. Every chance I get when I need it, because I know from experience there are going to be times I don't have that luxury, and it is a luxury. It is me taking care of my own needs, but when you take care of other humans as part of, like, your day-to-day, it's a fucking luxury to have that kind of time. I have that time now from a parenting perspective because they are older and they don't need me as much. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm not, like, actively parenting in the same way anymore. Like, my mind doesn't even comprehend it anymore. I'll be very lost for a hot minute. But that's the other thing. Some people, I can hear you. I don't have time to do that. Not every day, you certainly don't. But whatever it is that you know that you need, that there will be times you can do, take that time. Communicate with your partner. I can't do this right now. I need this. If you are the partner watching, you're, whether submissive or dominant, grind themselves down in the ground because they are caring for everybody else, right? It is your fucking job to stop them at some point and go, hey, this is what I'm saying. Here's what I think I can do to help. That's taking some of the mental load. When you ask for the list, you've just given a mental load. I'm just saying, if you see it, go, I would like to do these things. What JB has learned to do is go, will it stress you out more if I just take care of this? And sometimes I go, yes, it will. And sometimes I go, no, you go right the fuck ahead. But he has gotten really good at coming up to me and going, what do you need right now?
Yeah.
I've gotten better at going, I need quiet. I need a cool room. I need to be left alone. Because that is what I need. Whatever you need, spend some time, however long it takes, however many fucking years it takes, figuring out what it is, and then fucking talk to your partner.
Yeah.
Because all of this is hard. Now, the other thing I will say, this has been a very long episode, and I still have a couple more things, and I know I get ranty, so I don't know. One thing I will say for these times of caregiving, the episode we did last week, DS That Nobody Will Notice, if any of those kinds of things resonate for you in Power Exchange, highly recommend, because you are, like, for us, my rules and routines, the tasks that I follow, I have built those into the life I have as a mother. Like, I know when I can do this because no child will need me. I know that sometimes my child will need me in a way they haven't in forever, and I can just then go to JB and go, I either need some time or I need to not do this thing today. But it's baked in, so I can fit the things I do as a submissive around the life I have. The things that we do that have meaning, as we talked about in that episode, are things that we're already doing and don't look like anything, right? Getting in the car and handing him his sunglasses. He was going to put his sunglasses on anyway. Me doing it doesn't take any extra time. We're sitting there. Nobody's going to ask a question. Sometimes the only time for a while we got alone was when we were in the fucking car together. So
you used to take a lot of drives at that time.
We did. We did. So that is the thing I can also say during this time of caregiving for an adult. Find, if it resonates, find things that are not actively like fuckery, that can't be behind closed doors, and that don't have, that nobody's going to clock, but that means something to you, so that you have something you can do. We talked about this many times this year as we are, like, reconnecting in our Power Exchange, but the thing that got us through those 4 years of just hell was the way we do our Power Exchange. If JB is always the decider and I keep doing the things that I agreed to do, because they still work for me to do, it's not like I don't mind doing them. Yes, the Power Exchange is not where we want it to be once we get through that time in life. It's not our idealized version where we are really satisfied with it. No. But
at least there's something there that it's not totally just thrown out.
Yep. There's something there to build off of.
Right.
Also, because I'm like this, quality over quantity, y'all. Some folks, regardless of whether you're a parent, you got a kid, whatever, your life is so fucking busy and stressful in general that having a whole bunch of rules or a whole bunch of tasks, that's too fucking much. You don't have to do all of the things. Do what your life and your mental and emotional health allow, and physical health, too, allow you to do. That might be one thing every fucking day. It might be two things. It might be this stage of life, it's only one thing you can do, but in 6 months, new stage of life, you can add more. But if we get really like focused on, I'm not doing a whole lot, so it doesn't count. Fuck that. Just fuck that shit. It is. I say this as a greedy fucking baby girl who, why would I want one when I was gifted with 2 hands and they're not small? I can have more. It will fit in my hands. Give me more. I am that kind of person. Why do I want the small slice of cheesecake if the standard size is really big? That's the kind of person I am. So I get how people can think that way, but life has taught me that what that means is more often than not, I'm going without because I won't accept smaller, not lesser. We're not accepting less respect, less communication, less care, right? We're not accepting less, just smaller amounts, smaller, not less, right? And if you can find what works for you and your partner, it can get you through to the next season. So, the last thing I want to leave everybody with, we started at the beginning, and sometimes it's a triumphant thing, and sometimes it's a sad, sad thing. Whatever caregiving you're doing, it is probably not forever.
Yeah.
In most situations, most common situations, it is not forever. These children will grow up. The adult caregiving often has a clear expiration date. I hate to say it. I don't want to sound callous.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But however long this lasts, it's not a forever. It's not.
No.
So now that I've brought the whole fucking room down, sorry y'all. Look, a lot of this, people are going to go, that's common sense. That's what you should do in the rest of your life. Yes, but sometimes we somehow think power exchange life is completely separate and distinct from the rest of our life. And in certain cases, it can be.
Right.
Like if you are very much my power exchange only happens under these specific parameters, it can feel like it's separate. But the rest of your life will interfere. I don't care if you only do power exchange in this one specific situation, in this one room, at this one time, on this one day. All the things going on in your life will impact that. So, real world power exchange, this is one of the things. We've talked about this before, but people were like, oh, real world? Yeah, please talk to me about parenting. I will link to you on all the ways we have talked about parenting, but this is true of just taking care of another human.
Yeah. Yep.
So, anything you would like to add?
I think we covered it.
I made my throat hurt. I made myself sweaty. I probably turned my face redder than usual from a blood pressure spike.
No.
Oh, good.
Nope.
The makeup is working.
Yep.
So all that being said, yes, we can be done with
Okay.
this topic and go into a bonus section.
All right. So, are we good?
Sure.
Keep it kinky, y'all.
See you next time. You asked if we were good,
I know. Yeah.
and I then forgot what that means. I was like, just answering the question. Yeah, we're good. I'm good. Nothing more to say. I'm good. Can we talk to the crickets, please?
Yes.
Oh my god. The comments in the live chat have been great. I saw it's already gone flying past, but I want to acknowledge it. Rara from Pink Kink pointed out that Sunny Megatron is the one who said kink is customizable, first.
I was going to mention that.
And I'm trying to, I have no doubt that because I follow Sunny in a couple places, I probably saw it, didn't clock it, but it, stuck in my subconscious. But I don't have a clear memory of going, oh, yeah, I heard Sunny say that. I saw that in a post. I don't doubt it. I'm sure that's where I got it. What are you looking for? Pounders? In the box labeled pounders?
Really? Gee, I never would have known.
So what JB is doing right now is somebody asked to see what yellow heart looks like. So for YouTube folks, he's going to show that off. For podcast listeners, thekinkery.com, you will be able to see it. I think the pictures I took and the way I edited them, it's true to actual color. But JB's going to put it in front of the camera. But also, my whole thing, I got distracted. I want to give the shout out and the credit to Sunny Megatron for being the one who says I'm going to go back to that episode and like add that credit in, because I knew it came to me somehow. But go ahead.
All right.
And JB is putting the yellow heart pounder in front of the camera. For podcast listeners, this yellow is like a true fucking yellow. Mm-hmm. Like there's like some shades of very pale brown maybe, but it just looks super fucking yellow.
Yeah, and the dark spots in the wood, they almost look like feathers. They're so...
You called it feathering.
Yeah, I called it feathery. That's the best way I can describe it.
It's very subtle and swirly.
Yeah.
And feathery. You're right.
And
feathery.
Soft. That's why it reminds me. And it's beautiful. But yeah, the color of the wood, yellow for sure.
Yeah, the one you picked out has a stronger feathering pattern on one side. Yes. The one I took the picture of, because I wanted to show off the most yellow, is the one that just shows the most yellow and less of the feathering. Yeah. So, yeah, yellow heart. So for anybody who's knows anything about wood and or has purposely purchased from the Kinkery in the past, thekinkery.com, yellow heart is to the color yellow that purple heart is to the color purple. Purple heart is fucking purple. Now, every once in a while you'll find a cut where there's a very strong red undertone, and you're like, is that a true purple? But sometimes it's a true fucking purple. That's a true yellow. So, yeah, that's... And the other thing I want to say about these fucking pounders is 3 of the woods, and I think we have 2 paddles of, are fucking heavy. If you are a thud person, the Wengi, which is so dark brown it's almost black, the Bloodwood, and we only have one of them, but the Rosewood.
Yep.
They are either almost 10 ounces or over 10 ounces. That's heavy for a paddle that size. For podcast listeners, the paddle is 12 inches long, but the paddle area is only 2 inches wide. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. It's the thickest pounders you've made in a hot-ass minute.
Yep.
I would be afraid to have one of these heavy fuckers come at me. That's because there's going to be that sharp smack of solid, flat surface hitting skin, but the weight behind it, that'll knock somebody's breath out. I promise you. I promise you. So, yellow heart, and we have one called Edamoe. Edamoe, am I saying that right?
I believe so, yeah.
They're the 2 lightest woods, but light is, I can't think of the word. There's a word. I can't think of the word. Anyway, when I say light, I just mean they're lighter than these heavier woods. The yellow heart and the Edamoe. Edamoe to me is not the prettiest wood, but that's a personal preference. I know people who have loved when you've had Edamoe before. They are in that weight that we classify as the in-between, where you will get a sting, but you will get some thud. But the Wengi, the Bloodwood, and the Rosewood, oh my God, that's
that's some dense
thud. And if you're like, I will not remember which woods if I go to thekinkery.com. Any paddle listing, any actually product listing, paddle listing, pick the wood down from the drop down, scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's a tab that says additional information. I put the weight in every fucking time. So. So yeah, that's thekinkery.com. I think I'm gonna send out an email today because I want people to see the pounders. I want the people to see the pounders. But you're also working on other restocks, which I'm excited about. Mean, evil restocks. Oh God, we got on the side. We have stayed on and then got on again the side of the fucking Instagram algorithm of, why would anybody do this? Are y'all all just sick? I fucking hate you, but I'm not commenting because I don't have the time or energy for your fucking bullshit. I would rather people just fucking block us if you don't want to see the kink shit. But also, if you would stop commenting on the kink shit, guess what would not
would go
show
away.
up on your fucking feed?
Yeah, it would
But
just
my
go away.
favorite, once I figured out the reference, it took me, I had to Google, are the people who go brick by fucking brick, which is they have built their algorithm, their feed, brick by brick to see what they want. I had to Google it, y'all. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if I was supposed to be annoyed or pleased.
Right.
And so I saw several, over the past several months, I've seen several comments. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I finally went. I was like, oh, okay. So then, again, one of our most recent pieces of content, wrong side of the algorithm, but just right enough to see some brick by fucking brick, y'all. Hell yeah. And then we sold out of what was in the video. God damn it. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm always happy when you bring a product because it makes my promotional stuff much easier. I know, because I know from experience and I've, tried to learn about this stuff, that you never just market a product one time and be done. You got to show it off in different ways several times because people need not everybody's going to see everything, and people need to see things multiple times before they'll do anything about it, unless it's something that they're actively looking for. But I get really I just showed off this fucking paddle 4 days ago. I don't even have anything creative to say. I just want to put one of the paddles in front of my fucking phone, because I use my phone to take pictures, and go, here it is. This is a paddle. Fucking buy it. That's... Oh, God. Apparently you can't just do that. Oh, my God. Silence saying in the live chat, there's no episode on routines, but I would have been convinced there was. Let me... I got my Google Drive up. You will either be surprised or not be surprised that... What am I trying to say? Every single episode that we've ever recorded, I have the script and the notes for every single one. So in my Google Drive, I just type in a keyword. I'm like, did we do this? Episode 254, Ruts, Routine, and the Mundane. I don't know that we talked about them as how to set up a routine. I'd have to teach myself how to talk about how to set up a routine in a way that might resonate with more than just me. But we do have episode 254 where we at least talked about them on some level. So I made myself hot and sweaty. My makeup is melting off. We're not done recording for the day.
I know.
No, I know you know that.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just pointing out. I'm
Okay.
melting myself actively,
Okay.
and we still have more to go. I didn't hold anything back. So that next recording for patrons over on Patreon is going to be interesting.
Well, at least it's not video. It's just...
True. But if I have no voice and I can't think of words... I'm sorry if you are a member of our Patreon. I'm so sorry.
Maybe then we should go.
Oh, but I'm enjoying myself.
Get you cooled down a little bit, and then we'll finish.
Let me go sit in a dark
Yeah.
room by myself.
Under the fan and
Ooh,
the...
and read my book.
See?
Oh, the book I'm reading is so good.
And I'll do puzzles for a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I've got to make sure the kid actually ate something.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Anywho.
That was all chaotic, but hopefully something good came from it. I don't know why I get all apologetic about being chaotic. I should just fucking embrace it. I don't know. I always want to be...
After all these years,
I always want to be sleeker and more put together and, whatever than I actually am. And I struggle to just embrace the mess that I am. Because my perfectionist side says, you shouldn't be a mess. I'm a fucking mess. I just need to own it. I will say, because I meant to say it earlier and then forgot, and I'll have to say it again next week, but hey, if you are willing to stick around to the bitter end, you get to know first. We have an episode next week, which is the first full week of May, and then we are taking a break the following week, which is the week after the U.S. Mother's Day. I don't know when the UK's Mother's Day is, but U.S. Mother's Day is, I believe, May 11th, whatever that Sunday is. My mom will be in town from the Thursday before to the Thursday after Mother's Day, and I don't want to have to run around worrying about recording, but I looked at a calendar. The Friday, when she will have been gone, because she leaves on Thursday, is that the 15th or 16th? I can't remember the date, but that Friday.
It will be the night of the hangout.
It'll be the night of the hangout. So there won't be an episode, and there won't be a following Monday episode, but there will be a Friday night live stream.
Wow.
So we got one more episode in this series we're doing, and then we'll take our break, and then we might do a couple of episodes that are not related specifically to the series, but then as topics crop up that I'm like, oh, that fits the series, we'll do the series. We'll keep it going.
All
Yay.
right.
Oh, UK Mother's Day was a month ago.
Wow, all right.
Yeah. I don't pay as much attention to my UK connections and friends
Not
as
like
I used
to, yeah.
Yeah, they're not in my
No.
feeds quite as much, so I don't keep up with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I also forget that their time change happens at a different point than our time change.
ours.
There's always like a week where the UK friends I do connect with most often, we don't know what time we're trying to talk to one another.
Right.
Somebody's time has
Yeah.
changed and we're not in sync. But yeah, so anyway.
So, all right.
Okay, I'm hot and sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta go be a mom before I can go be a lump in the bed.
There you go.
Before I can come back and screech into a microphone.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We'll talk to y'all later.
Mhm. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for being here to the bitter end.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for embracing the chaos.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Bye.
Bye.